sometimes I was a bit too enthusiastic and started using things a bit too early.
This week on Now That's It, Rogier de Jong of Kembit in the Netherlands talks about his journey from starting out as a Microsoft consultant to building a successful MSP.
We're also currently combining the two parts of the company to work together a bit more.
Welcome to Now That's It, Stories of MSP Success, where we dive into the journeys of some of the trailblazers in our industry to find out how they used their passion for technology to help turn managed services into the thriving sector it is today.
I'm going to try to pronounce it correctly. Rogier. Yes, I see. I made it even worse. All right, we'll go with the Roger, because as an American, that's the best I can do. So
That's no problem.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I've lived in America for years.
Well,
they call me Roger.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you very, very much for being here. Why don't we start off by you introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your role at Kembit?
Okay. Well, as I'll pronounce my name right. So my name is Rogier de Jong. Dutch is, and in English, I usually call myself Rogier de Jong. So
Okay.
That's a literal translation of my name. I've been working for Kembit, my current company, for almost 15 years now. 15.
Yep.
Not 50.
Fantastic.
I started out as a Microsoft consultant primarily, and about 8 years ago, a new director came and wanted to build out the MSP part of our company, and he needed a technical conscience, somebody who could have the end say in what sort of technologies we use and how we implement stuff at customers. So I started talking with him, and I said, well, I would like that role. And he said, well, if you want it, please come and help me. And so that's how it started. Along the way, we've made some good decisions. I think Azure, we adopted Azure in a pretty early stage, so we had time to make mistakes before the customers really had to experience the mistakes. So that's my role is technical manager, we called it, because technical conscience is not something that you put on a card or you have to explain yourself every time.
Yeah.
But
That's great. So tell us a little bit about Kembit. You've been there for 15 years. That's fantastic. Tell us a little bit about the company. Who are the current sort of customers that you guys have, and how big is the company?
the company combined. So as I said, it's a combination of an MSP and a consultancy branch combined with all the HQ. It's about 130 people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think about 50 of them are MSP part. As I'm saying this, we're also currently combining the two parts of the company to work together a bit more. But yeah, so that's the size of our company. We're located in the Netherlands, in the south of the Netherlands. Really, I don't know if you have a map of the Netherlands in your head, but there's a long, small part on the right, and we're in the south of that part of the Netherlands. That's our main office. We have an office in Eindhoven that's a little bit more up, and we have a small branch also near Utrecht. So that's where we're located. We actually our main office is it's a castle. It's not as nice as the castle over here.
Yeah,
it's called a castle in the Netherlands.
Neat.
It's a very old building. So that's also nice where we can invite our customers, and it's old meets new. It's the medieval part meeting the new technology. So so it's a nice place. It's good to work there. And I live only 15 minutes away, so my commuting time is perfect. So
very good, very good. So you talked a little bit during your introduction about some of the good decisions you made, but talk a little bit about over the last 15 years. What are some of the challenges that Kembit, and maybe even from a technology perspective, that you guys have run into, and how did you get over those?
I think the challenge, one of the things, and you said, how did we get over those?
Yeah.
I don't think we
Completely figured it out. Yeah, it's okay.
But we're working on it. But yeah, because we started out as a consultant company, and when you're as a consultant, when you go to a customer, you do what the customer asks, even if you think, well, that's not maybe a smart decision, and I think that's one of the things that you think have to be careful with a little bit is the customer is always right, because I think in our branch that's seldom true. And you have to tell the customer that, but politely. But I think if you keep on saying, well, customer, if you want it like that, we'll do it like that, then you have to spend a lot of time cleaning it up also. And so I think that's one of the things that we learned to do also, and more made suggest to the customer, no, you want this as a result, so you should do it like this and not the way you think you should do it.
Yep. It's great. And you're not alone. What you're experiencing, we see partners running into the same thing, the mix between standard and non-standard. From my past experience, right? We talked over breakfast. I worked at an MSP that was 20 employees that grew to 300 employees over a 15-year period of time. And when we talked to customers, it was a big shift for us to say, this is our offer. This is what it looks like. And you either take it or you leave it, right? Like we're this is what we feel is the minimum viable stack. This is the security credentials, the security protocols that should be in there. And while you may not need everything, we know better, right? And so that's a big shift to make that, and it's not easy either.
Yeah, and also, as you say, they have to have the courage to say to the customer, it's this, or it's not us. That's not in our genes. So
the one thing I'll say, and hopefully this is what Kembit is sort of experiencing as well, is there is some room for flexibility. It doesn't have to be, this is the end-to-end solution, right? And so the more standard an offering can look like, the better things are going to be, obviously from an efficiency perspective and a scalability perspective. But to your point earlier, I mean, when you walk into a specific industry and they say, well, we really need this. This is really important from a data protection or from a security perspective. I think it's really important that you obviously keep your ears open. And that's great.
Yeah, and also that's interesting that you say, because we're the last couple of years we're more focusing on healthcare and pharmaceutical industry, and then you we're not experts in that field, but when the customer says, well, we need this much on auditing information, then our first thing for a technician is to say, well, do you really need that much? But if they need it for compliance, that's the things that you can't say, well, we don't do that at all. You can, but then you don't get the customer. So you still have to adapt to the needs of the customer.
That's great. Roger, what was the point over the last 15 years, or was there a point where you sort of realized this is it? I made the right decision. I'm at the right spot. What was that point when you just sort of realized, now that's it. I've figured it out.
Well, one thing I think that was a good decision was the adoption of Azure. I think that because I'm a very Microsoft-minded man. I'm also a trainer, Microsoft certified trainer. I have almost 40 Microsoft certifications, so I know the world, and some of the products maybe we got in too early and they died. The system center products, I don't know if you know them. But I was I liked them, very enthusiastic person about them too, but they slowly, I don't know if they even exist still anymore. But again, Azure, we started using it. We have a small development, we have a development department also, and they needed to have a stable platform. And Windows servers, they aren't as stable as possible. So that was one of the very first commercial uses that we had for Azure, to just use the SQL platform as a service part of Azure. And we used that for a long time without expanding to the rest. And then one time I said, well, I think we should use more, especially when Office 365 came up, of course, and then you have Azure AD already in the back. And I said, we should use more of that, because this is where the world is going to. And Maybe sometimes I was a bit too enthusiastic and started using things a bit too early for Microsoft. Everybody knows Microsoft, you only get in after version 2.0. Version 1.0 is not, it's a tryout for Microsoft. And then they say, okay, we did a lot of things wrong. We're going to start all over.
Yep.
And then it's good. And so version 2.0 of Azure, how do they call it? The resource variant instead of the service variant that they started out. That was stale, and still you learn things and you progress. But I think we made mistakes, but it was before the customer noticed anything. And so we had early adopters of customers, and they were pretty good. So I I think it's funny because I think I'm one of the customers of Enable who's been asking for the Azure SSO for the longest time, because that was for me important. Yeah. and all our other tools they already had it, and the funny thing, Enable, they kept saying, it's gonna be there, and this year, really, and now it's finally here. And then I hear in the audience that a lot of other companies, they say, well, we don't know, we're not sure. So that's a bit strange for me, because I think they're not as far with Azure. Or
you were an early adopter, and I would agree that even in the States, we see there's a mix of MSPs that have gone all in from a cloud perspective, and early on they figured out a way to bundle their services on top of public cloud and use some of those as a service type offerings from Microsoft and some of the other major providers. But there's still a lot that, for one reason or another, just haven't moved maybe as aggressively. And from my experience, cloud isn't going anywhere. It is continuing to progress, and that's great that you were sort of an early adopter.
Yeah.
Roger, tell me what's something you're really, really passionate about, and what do you bring to your team? I mean, you've been in technology for a long time, but what gets you really excited?
Well, I've always been, I don't know, do you know Kickstart? The old, really, that's one of the first, well, I don't call it programming language, but scripting language that I came in contact with. And that has always been, Kickstart kind of let it go the last couple of years, but I was very enthusiastic about that. And then VB script. In Kickstart, actually, there's a user board of Kickstart. You know it?
Yeah.
Look up the name Drill Sergeant. That's me. We're going to have a lot of talks about Kickstart. But there was a championship of Kicks Golf, they called it. And the object of the game was to write a script, and then make it as short as possible. And I've won that, I think 2 years in a row. I was the champion of Kicks Golf. So that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I had to get back to now.
Yeah.
Scripting was always very helpful for me, because as Bill Gates says, a good administrator is a lazy administrator.
That's right.
So I always use Kickstart to ease my tasks, VB script to ease my tasks. And when PowerShell came, I thought, well, this is a very important step for you. And for a long time, I've always said, well, if somebody comes to our company and they don't want to learn PowerShell, or they don't know PowerShell, then they're not right for us. Because I think it's such an important part of the technical baggage that you need to have to script. Because nowadays, if you only can, in Azure, if you can only configure things through the portal, it's too slow. It's you make too many mistakes. You can make a lot of mistakes with PowerShell too, but I think that's one of the things that I'm passionate about also, and that sometimes when I'm not, last couple of years I'm more writing papers and things, and that I miss just writing scripts, but sometimes do it, and I still got it a bit, so.
It's really smart. The most sort of successful MSPs have, in my opinion, gone sort of all in on automation, and they're finding a way to do things more efficiently. And that obviously shows up in the bottom line when you can support 4 times as many devices with one person that maybe the normal MSP can. And so I love to hear that you've put an investment in that and that you're passionate about that. And I wish you the best of luck on that too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here, Roger. This is a great session, and I loved hearing about your history and a bit more about Kembit. Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or your preferred podcast platform, and follow Enable on LinkedIn. We appreciate your support and encourage you to leave a rating or review, as it helps us reach more listeners who can benefit from the wealth of knowledge shared on this show.